Welcome back to Cowboys Insiders, your ultimate destination for everything surrounding the legendary Dallas Cowboys. No matter where you're watching from around the world, we truly appreciate you for being the part of this amazing Cowboys community. Here on Cowboys Insiders, we bring you a latest breaking news, NFL draft update, trade rumor, a free agencies move, and a roster changes, and all the biggest stories connected to American team, which is a Dallas Cowboy. The Cowboys continues to make a headlines across the NFL, and today we have got another exciting topic that every Cowboys fan needs to hear about it. If you are passionate about the football and want daily coverage of the Dallas Cowboy franchise, this is a perfect way of acquiring some more. So before we jump into today's huge story, please make sure you hit on subscribe button and turn on notifications and join the glowing Cowboys Insiders family. So your support helps this channel to continue bringing you our best Cowboys content every single day. As the upcoming week is going to be a very crucial for the Dallas Cowboy offensive coordinator Clayton Adams, next week could give him the kind of exposure that changes the trajectory of his career. And if the Dallas Cowboy offense continues to rank among the NFL best in 2026, his name is only going to gain more momentum in head coaching conversation in the NFL. Cowboys Clayton Adams will be a part of the NFL Accelerator program. The Dallas OC should get some legit look next offseason if the offense repeat the same success this year in the Dallas Cowboy. This program aims to introduce 34 promising candidates who could become a head coach and general manager in the future to the NFL team owners. This helps in connecting them with NFL owners through a networking event, interview preparation, and leadership development sessions. So the Adams, who is entering his second season as a Dallas offensive coordinator, is one of 16 coaches candidates selected for this program. A former Cowboys defensive line coach and current Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator Aden Bald is also included in the group of those 16 coaching candidates, along with a former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike Daniel, and other 18 participants were chosen for a general manager track. Initially, the Accelerator program was introduced back in 2026 in order to increase the diversity of the leadership role within the league until it was put on the hold in 2025. It now returns during this week's owner meeting in Orlando, while the federal government has not formally scrutinized the program, so it has become part of the Florida ongoing criticism of the NFL diversity effort. In May 2026, a letter to Florida Attorney General James F. Mena, NFL General Counsel, out explained how the league diversity policies comply with Florida and federal laws. The Accelerator program is open to all individuals, regardless of race or sex. However, as far as Adams concerned, this is definitely a chance of seizing as he gets exposure when he needs it most in his coaching career. So after spending time with Arizona Cardinals and Indianapolis Colts, Clayton Adams came to work under Brian Schottenheimer in 2006. He made a huge impact in his debut season in Dallas, helping to develop the most efficient offense in the NFL for 2025 season. The Cowboys ended up finishing the season as the league's second best offense in terms of statistics, averaging 391 yards and 266.3 passing yards per game. A big factor behind the success was the performance of a Dak Prescott, who managed to bounce back from hamstring injury in the 2024 season, so recording one of the best performances in the NFL career. He passed for 4,552 yards and threw 30 touchdowns with unwritten interceptions and impressive of 72, lacking him 50 in the league. The offense also benefited from standout performances across a roster including CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Javonte Williams. One of the Adams' main focuses was shifting the mindset of flashing attacks. The offense was expected to be aboard and create a violence in the game, something that could easily be seen later away on the field. Despite injury for the four offensive linemen starter, and the offense kept churning out production under Adams. Since the inauguration of the 47th president, the NFL has been engaged in a delicate dance regarding its diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. This week, one of the key aspects of the NFL efforts returned with a twist. As the league explained in the March, the Accelerator programs is back, and it's open to everyone. At the time, NFL Senior and the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer Jonathan Beer said that it's not us taking a direction of anyone on the outside or reaction to DC. The NFL considered last year's Accelerator program, prompting speculations that it was hoping to avoid scrutiny by anti-DA forces within a federal government. So according to the Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, they include a Charger offensive coordinator and the former Dolphins head coach Mike Daniel, and current and former chief offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. Many of other coaches on the list have had head coaching interviews. Per Fowler, Lamb's offensive coordinator Nate Scarline, passing game coordinator and former Giant interim head coach Mike Kafka, a Jaguar offensive coordinator Grant Udenster, and coordinator Edinburgh Falcon defensive coordinator Jeff Albish, Vikings quarterback coach MC Clowney. Although the federal government has yet scrutinized Accelerator program, it has become one of the issues in Florida's ongoing attack against NFL. Questions to offensive scheme adjustment. Everything happening inside the star line now suggests this organization understands the pressure to finally return to a Super Bowl contention. One of the biggest talking points surrounding the Dallas remain a quarterback, Dak Prescott, and expectations placed on him entering another critical season. Prescott continues to face enormous pressure because the Cowboys have invested heavily in him as the face of franchise, but fans are demanding a postseason result instead of a regular season dominance. Inside a league cycle, many executives still believe Dak is one of the most efficient quarterbacks when protected by a stable offensive line and supported by a balanced run game. However, critics continue pointing towards a turnover in a key moment, a red zone inconsistencies, and struggles against elite playoff defenses as the major concerns that the Dallas must overcome if they want to make a deep January run. The Cowboys coaching staff reportedly spent much of the offseason studying ways to evolve the offensive scheme into a more explosive and unpredictable attack. Expect more pre-snap motions, heavier use of the play action concepts, quicker tempo packages, and expanded vertical route tree designed to maximize mismatches against opposing secondaries. Dallas understands the modern NFL is built around offensive flexibility, and sources around the league believes the Cowboys want to create an offense capable of attacking a defenses at every level of the field instead of relying too heavily on isolation routes and conservation sequencing. A huge reason for optimism remains a superstar wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, who has evolved a yards after catch explosiveness and the ability to line up both outside and in the slot make him almost impossible to game plan against for a 4 quarters. Coaches inside the organization reportedly want to move him around even more this season to create leverage advantages and force defenses into unfavorable coverage looks. League scouts believe Lamb is entering the absolute prime of his career, and there is growing feeling that the Dallas may build the entire offensive identity around his versatility moving forward. Meanwhile, the Cowboys running back room continues to be one of the most heavily debated units on the roster. So the Dallas has clearly been searching for a more explosiveness and consistency after struggling to establish a dominance on the ground in critical games that season. NFL insiders believe the organization wants more physical or downhill rushing identity combined with outside zone speed concept that can strengthen defenses horizontally. So the front office also appear committed to improving a short yardage efficiency. So something that became the frustrating weakness during a key moment last year. Analysts expect a Dallas to continue evaluating veteran market options while simultaneously developing a younger back who fits the new offensive philosophy. The offensive line remains another central storyline because protecting a Dak Prescott has become one of the franchise's top priorities. So injuries and inconsistencies affected the unit of different points last season, but the Cowboys still believe they possess foundational pieces capable of restoring a dominance in trenches. Dallas scout and the coaches have emphasized versatility, athleticism, and cross protection intelligence while evaluating alignment throughout the offseason. The organization reportedly wants to build the unit into a faster and more adaptable group capable of handling modern defensive pressure packages, especially against an elite NFL pass rusher. Defensively, the Cowboys continue building around superstar edge rusher Micah Parsons, who remains one of the most feared defenders in football. The Parsons has completely transformed the identity of the Cowboys defense with his elite burst, crossing a speed pass rusher versatility and relentless motor. Opposing offensive coordinator now build entire protection plans around limiting his impact, yet he still consistently creates pressure and game-changing plays. Around the league, many believe Parsons is not only the cornerstone on the Cowboys defense but also one of the few defenders capable of completing taking over a playoff game by himself. There is also growing excitement surrounding a Dallas defensive depth and hybrid personnel packages. Coaches reportedly want to create a more disguised look before the snap, giving a quarterback fewer opportunities to identify the coverages and blitzes early. The Cowboys' defense has become increasingly positionless in a certain situation, with a linebacker and safety expected to rotate responsibilities depending on matchups. That flexibility could become one of the biggest strengths of the roster if a younger defender continues developing at the pace the organization expects. So another major focus this offseason has been improving a run defense, especially after a several physical dominance. Opponents exposed weakness in the front seven during a critical stretches of the previous season. Dallas Cowboys understand that playoff football often becomes a battle of the physical in the trenches, and there is reportedly strong emphasis on adding a tough interior defenders capable of controlling gaps and collapsing lashing lanes. Coaches want a more disciplined unit that can maintain aggressions without sacrificing assignment integrity. The Cowboys front office, led by the owner Jerry Jones, continues to face enormous pressure from fans demanding a return to championship relevance. So Jones has repeatedly emphasized that the organization remains fully committed to winning now. And insiders around the NFL believe Dallas could continue making aggressive roster moves if opportunities arise during training camp or the regular season. The franchise understands that the patience among the fan base is wearing thin after years of the playoff disappointment, despite a strong regular season record. One of the most interesting aspects of the Cowboys offseason is how much attention the franchise has placed on leadership and locker room culture. Coaches reportedly want a stronger accountability across the roster, especially in high-pressure moments late in the games. So the veterans have been challenged to create a more disciplined and mentally resilient environment capable of handling adversity when expectations rise. So the Dallas has talent that has never been the issue. The really question is whether this roster can finally translate a potential into a postseason execution. The NFC landscape is also becoming increasingly competitive, which means a Dallas cannot afford regulation. Teams across the conference continue improving through the draft and free agencies, and coaching changes are putting even more urgency of the Cowboys to maximize their championship window immediately. The analyst believes that the Cowboys roster still possesses enough elite talent to compete with any team in football, but consistent health and late season execution will ultimately determine whether this group become legitimate Super Bowl contender or another talented team that falls short under pressure. As a training camp approaches, or the expectation around the Dallas Cowboys remain enormous. Every practice lap, every depth chart battle, and every contract negotiation, and every preseason performances will be analyzed intensely, because this franchise lives under a spotlight unlike almost any other organization in sport. Than just a 3 days event, but it is now heartbeat of every organization's long-term vision. The foundation of championship lost up, and the battlefield where dynasty are either buried or destroyed. From a blockbuster trade to franchise quarterback, an elite edge rusher, shoot down corner, and explosive wide receiver, every selection carries a pressure, expectations, and the hope of the millions of the fans across the league. As teams continue rebuilding their roster for the future, several franchises are entering a critical era that could define their success for years to come. Front offices are becoming more aggressive, scouting departments and are working harder than ever, and coaches are searching for players who can immediately transform the culture inside the locker room. Around the league, the pressure is enormous because fans is no longer want a patience. They want instant result, playoff appearance, and Super Bowl contention. The biggest storyline surrounding the NFL draft continues to revolve around franchise quarterback. So in today's NFL, everything changes when a team finds a light quarterback. A single draft pick can completely alter the directions of organization. We have seen it. We have seen it happen with teams that went from struggling franchises to championship contenders. Almost every night, with the team that went the struggling franchise to championship contender, almost overnight, because they found the leader under a center, so every general manager understands what without an elite quarterback competing consistently in the modern NFL become nearly impossible for a Super Bowl contender. Several organizations entered this draft season desperate, searching for the game-changing, a signal caller, a team with aging quarterback, unstable offenses, or disappointing seasons are now investing heavily in young talent capable of becoming the face of the franchise. Scouts are studying every throw, every workout, and every interview, and every small detail because the margin for error is laser thin. Missing any quarterback can set franchise back for years, while drafting the light can completely transform the future of organization. At the same time, defensive talent has become equally valuable. Pass rushers are now considered premium assets because of how explosive modern offenses have become. A team know that if they cannot pressure an elite quarterbacks, they simply cannot survive a deep into the playoff. An edge rushers with a speed, power, and athleticism are being viewed as franchise changing, a player capable of anchoring defenses for the next 10 years. Across the league, franchises are also prioritizing offensive line protection more than ever before. The physical demands of the NFL continue to increase, and protecting a young quarterback has become one of the highest priorities in the football. So the organizations are investing first round picks into offensive tacklers who can dominate a pass protection while also creating a lens in the learning of the game. Teams understand that championship are won in the trenches, and the draft is the best opportunity to strengthen those areas. Another major storyline is the rise of aggressive front offices willing to trade a massive draft capital in order to secure an elite talent. A franchise execution no longer wait patiently, hoping their preferred player falls to them. Instead, a team are moving up the board, sacrificing future picks and taking calculated risk to acquire players they believe can become a superstar. This aggressive strategy has completely changed an atmosphere surrounding the draft night, turning into one of the most unpredictable events in the sport or in the National Football League. The importance of the player development has also become critical for every franchise. Drafting a talent is, is only part of the equation. Organization also must create a winning environment where a young player can grow into a star, and the coaching staff and offensive system also, the defensive schemes, locker room culture, and the leadership all play massive roles in determining whether a prospect reaches his full potential. Some franchises consistently maximize a talent because of the strong development system, while others continue struggling despite draft highly talented players. One of the most fascinating aspects of today's NFL is how quickly a youngster are expected to produce. So the fans and analysts no longer give a rookie multiple years to adjust. First round picks are expected to contribute an immediate, especially a quarterbacks. A wide receiver and pass rusher, the pressure pressed on these young athletes is enormous, but the league's fast-paced environment demand instantly impact a franchise's investing millions of the dollar into young players, expect them to become foundational pieces right away. The draft has also become a deeply connected to franchise identity, so some teams prioritize physicality and defensive dominance, while others focus on speed, explosiveness, and offensive firepower. And every organization approaches a roster building differently, but the ultimate goal remains the same: constructing a, a championship caliber teams capable of competing for a Super Bowl. The fans across the NFL are already dreaming about what their franchise could become over the new few seasons. Hope is what makes the NFL draft so powerful, and every fan base believes the next superstar could already be on their roster. Every selection brings excitement, optimism, and renewed belief that a brighter future is coming. For rebuilding franchises, the draft represents a survival. For a playoff contender, it represents the final missing pieces needed to compete for a championships. For a struggling organization, it represents redemption and fresh beginning, and for a powerhouse teams already near the top of the league. So it represents an opportunity to stay dominant while the rest of the NFL tries to separate to catch up. The modern NFL is evolving faster than ever before. Offenses are becoming more explosive, defenses more versatile, and franchise more aggressive in pursuing a needed talent in the NFL. The draft sits at the center of all of it. It is where a future are created, career begin, and championship dreams are born. As the next NFL era begins to take a shape, franchises across the league know there it is no room for mistake anymore. But one elite draft class can change everything. So one superstar quarterback can revive an entire city. One defensive playmaker can redefine a championship defenses. The stakes have never been higher, and that is exactly why the NFL draft continues to captivate millions of the fans every single year. On the end, the franchise that scored better develop talent smarter, and build a strong cultures will separate